Hello everybody and welcome to the channel Out of Ammo, Out of Time. I'm your host Krabby Terror 8 and here we are in part 18 of season 2 of the Investigator games with everybody's favourite explorer, Ursula Downs. Yes, and for those of you who have been following my channel closely, you'll notice that we're back on Octagon. Octagon is back. Hooray! Why do I hear you ask? Why are we back on Octagon? Well, I'll just explain briefly. As many of you know, Asmodee issued a takedown order of the mod that I was using on Tabletop Simulator. And so even though I still have a copy of that, there's a couple of things. There was some fallout from that. Number one, I was unprepared for the amount of hate that I read about using the Tabletop Simulator from a number of people in the community. And so, and secondly, Asmodee have made it really clear that they don't want people to use that mod on Tabletop Simulator. So for both of those reasons, I'm no longer going to use that. Now, I did try and move to real life. I set up a studio and I even had a go at recording. The problem with 2 cameras and everything, and it was all great, but the problem is just the sheer time involved of mixing and recording and editing 2 cameras, and just the quality of the imagery and things is just not the same. And so I made the decision to move back to using Octagon, which I used a lot before. I really like Octagon, and I will continue to use Octagon unless Asmodee make it clear that they are not comfortable with people using Octagon either. At which time I think then I'll probably will move to the in real life recording, but just for the sake of time and effort, I'll use Octagon currently at the moment. Now, the other point I want to make is for those of you who do feel uncomfortable about people using digital assets, I own practically all of the Arkham Horror, the card game assets that I play. The only times I've played with assets that I don't own is with some of the special investigators like Norman Withers and Silas. I don't have physical copies of those 2 investigators, but everything else I do own. I would also add that if Fantasy Flight Games or Asmodee created their own digital version and required a payment or wanted some kind of payment, I'd be more than happy to provide that as well. It really is about time and effort required, and also the ability to produce quality content for the community. So there's that. Enough about that now. Here we are in episode 18 of the Investigator Games. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, what is the Investigator Games, I hear you ask? Well, it's like the Hunger Games. We take each investigator true solo and we put them through a scenario. Now, in Season 1, we took every investigator so far through the Gathering. And in Season 2, we're taking them through the Midnight Masks. And we rate their performance and based on their victory points. And based on that performance, they end up in a table like this one. Yes, and I'm just looking at the table here on my iPad. You'll be looking at it on the screen, obviously. And we can see that, yes, spoilers, sorry, but Leo Anderson is now top of the table. Hooray! Roland was at the top of the table for a long time. Leo has pipped him at the post there with 15 points. Now, that includes the carryover points from the Gathering. So we can see that Leo Anderson, Roland Banks, and Ashkan Pete are all top of the table. And languishing down the bottom, we've got Rex Murphy, Daisy Walker, and Jim Culver. So we can see a lot of variation. So the Midnight Mask tends to really provide a lot of variation. It's hard to know exactly how things are going to go in the Midnight Mask in the Investigator Games. So yes, and then of course once we finished season 2, we will move on to the Devourer Below, and we will do the same thing again. And by 2055, I'll have finished every single Arkham Horror the card game scenario out there with every single investigator. So that's where we're at with that. Now, spoilers, if you are new to Arkham Horror, the card game, if you are new to the Midnight Masks, I would heartily recommend that you go ahead and play it yourself. Seek out other introductory videos. There is tons of great content out there. For example, Twisted Tentacle in Vase Odin has a fantastic catalogue of content that I highly recommend. All of those sorts of things. There's awesome podcasts as well. Great Old Ones podcast, Drawn to the Flame. There's a whole lot of content for new players. I'm assuming you know how to play this at least a little bit. So just some spoilers there. If you haven't seen season 1, I would also recommend you watch those first. Sorry, the very, very first episode, the audio is a bit ropey. I've gotten better with things over time, but it would make more sense to watch those first. Okay, and I apologise ahead of time. I haven't used Octagon in a while, so if I seem a little bit reticent about how to do things. There are things about Octagon that I do like, though, that it's more automated. You can see everything on one page. There are some positive aspects to it, and it also shows you what you've done, which is really helpful as well. So, before we kick off, let's talk about Ursula. And I know I just said, not for introductory players. I do this for my purposes as much as anybody else. So let's have a look at Ursula Downs. I really like Ursula a lot. I've played her a lot. I've played the Forgotten Age quite a bit, and I've played that with Ursula. Those of you who know about the League of Extraordinary Investigators, which is over on Discord, we're in season 3 of that, doing Scenarios for Forgotten Age. I'm also playing Ursula Downs in that as well. She's a fantastic seeker. I think one of the strongest, not only investigators, but definitely one of the strongest seekers in the game. So let's just have a look here at Ursula. So a couple of things about her. Now, something that the investigators of the Forgotten Age all share is a fairly low stat in one thing, and Ursula is no exception here. We saw last week with Leo that he has a 1 in agility, and Ursula has a 1 in strength, so that immediately tells you that Ursula is not really about fighting. So that probably means that we are unlikely to get Wolfman Drew. It is possible that we could get Wolfman Drew, but it would only be under very, very specific circumstances. So she's really not a fighter. However, she does compensate for that from high stats in agility and fight, which means she can evade... intelligence, which means she can evade most enemies, and indeed she can find clues relatively easily, and her war power is pretty okay. And she has a really respectable physical and mental strength with 7 apiece. And what I really like about Ursula is her special ability, Reaction Trigger. After you move to a location, take an investigate action. So essentially, if you move, which you should be doing every single round, I should say, with Ursula, you get a free investigate. It's a free action, fast action. It really means that she can move blindingly fast, particularly if you've got things like Shortcut, Pathfinder, blindingly fast around the table, hoovering up clues like crazy. Her Elder Sign effect also helps with this. It's a +1, and you can move to a connecting location after the test ends, which of course can trigger then the investigate action. So you can see how there's a lot of synergy here with all of those things. So yeah, cards like Field Work and Shortcut and all those sorts of things are really great in Ursula Downs type of deck. So the idea with Ursula is really to stay ahead of the agenda and just kind of finish before the agenda even gets going. That's the idea. Discovery is easy, understanding is the hard part. That's so true. Now, if we just turn over Ursula and have a look, she's a seeker. She can take any relic cards level 0 to 4, and as the card pool for Arkham Horror, the card game, expands, the number of relic cards expands as well. So there's all kinds of awesome relic cards. The Crystalline Elder Sign is a particular standout for Ursula if you've got 3 XP hanging around. So really fantastic. And her weakness isn't too bad either. Call of the Unknown. Really, basically, you just put it down on a space, and if you investigate that space, then it's fine. So it not too bad in terms of that. Just a little bit about her backstory. Not many people can say that they've climbed a mountain on every continent. Fewer still can say they've stolen a golden idol from a tribe of cannibals. Among women in a male-dominated society, Ursula is unique in being able to make these sorts of claims. Ever since she was a small girl, Ursula has broken the rules set down for her, climbing trees, playing in the mud, exploring the woods, and doing plenty of other things that a proper young lady shouldn't be doing. Since getting a degree in archaeology in Boston, she has been travelling the world searching for forgotten civilizations. She's a very busy person, is Ursula. We managed to nail down a time where she could come and spend a bit of time in Arkham to do the Investigator games. And as you can see, she's currently at the house waiting to start the game. So that's Ursula. So let's have a look at her deck. Now, I've just brought up here, rather than using the imagery in Octagon, I've just brought up here Arkham DB, what I've done here. She only got 4 experience points for the Gathering. And everybody, all the Investigators start with their official Fantasy Flight game starter decks, which are not ideal, they're not optimized, but everybody starts with the same decks. Well, same decks, but a starter deck. So we only had 4 XP to work with. So what I did was really just try and make some improvements where I could with the 4, and you can see what I've done here. So basically it was a no-brainer to add in another Dr. Malign Christopher. Yes, we're not playing Taboo. I added in a working a hunch, obviously, because that's about getting clues very quickly. Added in a deduction for the same reason. The chronophobia is the weakness that she drew in the first season, and I've added in and I've got a plan. Took out the research librarian, took out a barricade, and took out the Ellie Horowitz to just strengthen things there. Unfortunately, with only 4 experience points, I would have liked to have added Shortcut. I would have liked to have added Crystalline Elder Sign, but I really was about making sure we had the Malign Christophers, that we can get clues quickly. The reason I added in the I've got a plan, so we've got Mind Over Matter and I've got a plan. And the other thing that we have in our deck, which isn't here, is we did gain Leader Chandler in Season 1. So that's what I mean about fighting Wolfman Drew. If we do have Leader Chandler on board and we do get something like I've got a plan or Mind Over Matter, we can probably take him on, but it's under very specific circumstances. So there you go. Those are the changes that I made. Don't know. What do you think? Let me know. Didn't have a lot to play with there, as you can see. The other thing is that we didn't defeat the Ghoul Priest in Season 1, so the Ghoul Priest is indeed in the encounter deck here. I'll just shuffle that up. So is in the encounter deck, and we've already shuffled up random versions of Southside and Downtown, and they're already there on the deck, on the table. Okay, so I think all that's left to do now is just read the agenda and the act deck, and then we just have to wait for the horn, and we're ready to roll in the Investigator games. So let me just read these out. Agenda 1A, Predator or Prey. Lita seems convinced of a conspiracy within the city of Arkham. She believes that a secret cult serves the ghouls that live in the crypts beneath the city, and that several of the cult's prominent members are scattered throughout Arkham. As you begin searching for them, you can't shake the feeling that you too are being hunted. Action resign, you don't want to risk taking too long, so you head to safety with the information you've gathered. And Act 1A, Uncovering the Conspiracy. You have 1 night to find members of this cult and unveil their plan. The more members of the cult you can find and interrogate before midnight, the better. Action, the investigators spend 2 clues per investigator as a group. Draw the top card of the cultist deck. Find as many unique cultist enemies as you can and add them to the victory display. If there are 6 unique cultist enemies in the victory display, advanced. Note, not all 6 of them are in the deck. So here we are in the Investigator games, ready to go. Oh, there goes the horn. It is time to start. Time to start with Ursula in the Investigator game. She's here at the house with one clue. We just need to get going with our deck. We'll just shuffle it up, of course. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? Well, we want Malign Christopher, of course. Who wouldn't if you're Ursula? So we want Malign Christopher. The magnifying glass would also be great. That's a nice fast way to get clues. Things that give you testless clues or extra clues, like working a hunch, deduction, those sorts of things would be great. A weapon, yeah, I guess a weapon just in case we need to use one, though I'm hoping we won't. I think they're the main things that we want. So let's go ahead and draw our 5 cards. Here we go. We will draw 5 cards. And let's see what we get. Whoa, okay. Well, how's this for a draw? So we get both of our weaknesses. So obviously we've got to draw 2 more. No Malign Christopher, though. Oh, yeah, well, we got Jake. So, you know what? I'm going to throw all of these in because I really want Malign Christopher, and we did get Malign Christopher in any of those. So let's draw another 5 cards. Oh, there's Malign Christopher. There's Working a Hunch. There's the Backpack. Ah, there's the Chthonian Stone. And there's Hyper Awareness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that was a much, much better draw. My goodness, how terrible. Thank God for mulliganing. Can you imagine if this is our first draw where we got 2 weaknesses and everything else? It would have been just atrocious. So let's just let's put these back in the deck. And let's shuffle up the deck because there's a couple of weaknesses there. So we will shuffle up the deck. And there we are. That's our hand to start with. And I really like this hand because it's got a testless, obviously it's got a testless clue in there, which is always great. It's got Malign Christopher, but also Hyper Awareness works really well if you have Malign Christopher because you've got something to spend your resources on. So I think that's awesome, all of that. So what should we do first here? Well, I think the obvious thing to do first, let's just put 3 actions onto good old Ursula. She's got her 3 actions here at the house. So I think the first thing to do is to bring out Malign Christopher. I think that makes sense. So for our first action, we will, oops, let's do it this way, 4, 3, 2, 1, spend 4. And we'll bring out Malign Christopher. Yes, so he's there ready to roll. That was our first action. Our second action, I think we go ahead and investigate the house. Now, normally I draw a card and gain a resource, but quite frankly, what we can do is we can investigate, then we can move and investigate again and have our 2 clues ready to roll. And that feels like a super efficient way to start. So I would much rather do that. And we'll get extra resources from Malign Christopher anyway. So I feel that that's a much better way to go. So for our second action, we will investigate the house. So it's a shroud of 2, and we are now a shroud of 5. So 2 versus 5 means -3 or better. 2 versus 5, -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -1. So we succeed and we get that clue, which means we also get a resource as well. Yep, so we get a resource. Fantastic. That's our second action. Then for our third action, let's go ahead and move to Rivertown. Let's flip Rivertown over. Let's put a clue on Rivertown. There we go. Now, as we know, when we move, we get a free investigate action each turn. So we will go ahead and we will investigate Rivertown as well. So it's got a shroud of 1, and we are a 5. So that's a 1 versus a 5. So that's a -4 or better. And the Chaos Bag gives us a -4. Wow. Okay, let's just 4, 5. Yeah, 5 minus 4 is 1. Wow, we just make that one. So there's our second clue, and we get another resource. There we go. Fantastic. So that's a perfect start, really, for Ursula. We couldn't ask for more. So that's the end of our turn. We started at the house with our 3 actions. First action was bring out Malign Christopher. Second action, we successfully investigated the house. We got the clue and a resource. And then we moved to Rivertown for our third action, and because we moved, we got a free investigate, and we got the clue from Rivertown. So that obviously means that next time we can spend the 2 clues and immediately bring out the first cultist on turn 2. That is so blindingly fast. The only way we kind of could have done it faster would be to have got the clue at the house, moved, got the second clue, but I think, well, for a start, we would have failed the second test without Malign Christopher, so I think that was the right thing to do. At some stage, we should bring out hyper-awareness, I suppose, because we're going to end up with quite a few resources. So that might be worthwhile, or perhaps even bring out the backpack, see what we can get with that. But at the moment, as we know in the Midnight Masks, time is always of the essence. It's the most precious resource you have. It can easily get away from you, so that's a good start anyway. Okay, so let's move into the good old enemy phase, or the enema phase, as I like to call it. And of course, there are no enemas or enemies on the table. So we will move into the upkeep phase. We get Jake Williams. Well, we don't have charisma, unfortunately, so Jake will not be... Now, what might happen is once we've got lots of clues, we might want to tank Malign Christopher and bring out Jake, but at the moment, it's probably for his wild card, I'm afraid. Poor old Jake is going to be a bit expendable in this game. So there we go. That was the our upkeep phase. So let's now... That's all going to go out the window because we move into the inaugural Mythos phase. Yes, and the first Doom goes down. I do like that about Octagon, that it does all those things for you. So it is time to see what the good old encounter deck has for us. Let's just shuffle up the encounter deck here. So that's the encounter deck, so we'll shuffle it up. This deck here is the 5 cultists. We'll shuffle them up when the time comes. So there we go. We'll shuffle up the encounter deck, and the first encounter card we get is a locked door. Attach the location with the most clues. Well, that could be anywhere. So let's put it, obvious place to put it is the house, because that probably would have a locked door, wouldn't it? We'd probably try and lock at least one door anyway. So yes, that's just there. You can just see it peeking out. So I don't think that's going to be a big problem. So that's a pretty easy start, and we got no nasties in that lot, including Crypt Chill, I should add. There is a Crypt Chill in here, so I've just realised that actually having some other asset onto the table is really, really handy so that we don't lose Malign Christopher. Because if we do get a Crypt Chill, we could very well lose him, and I forgot about that. So we better get ourselves another asset onto the table of some kind, because then if we do fail it, we don't lose Malign Christopher. Okay, so that's the end of the Mythos phase, and we are in turn 2, so let's move into the investigation phase. Let's put 3 actions onto good old Ursula. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we all know what we're going to do here, is we are going to spend our 2 clues, and let's see who the first cultist is. Let's hope it's not Wolfman Drew. Whoops. Where are we? Here we go. Okay, so let's shuffle up the cultist deck. And let's draw our first cultist. And it is actually our friend Peter Warren, which is a great start because Peter Warren sits here at Miskatonic University. All we need to do is spend 2 clues with him. So that's pretty good. That was an action, sorry. I should have done that. That's pretty good. Because that's pretty easy for us to do. We could just, South Side, St Mary's Hospital, and then we'll have our 2 clues. So that's pretty good. So we can do that relatively quickly, and then we can pick up 2 more clues at Miskatonic University for a victory point, and we can bring out the next cultist. So I think that sounds like a plan. If you're wondering why there's all these little locked things on these, is that for some of them in the upkeep phase, unexhaust. And they start moving around, so I have to lock them to stop them from doing that, which is very annoying, but it stops them from doing that. Okay, so we have 2 actions left. Now, I really do want to make sure we don't get crypt chilled, so I am going to spend a turn, and I know it's a waste of time, but losing Milan Christopher would be worse. So I'll take 2 actions. I'll spend 2. Now crypt chill, is it any asset? So yes, of course, hyper awareness we can. So let's bring out hyper awareness. Let's put that next to Milan Christopher. And, that's a handy card to have even if crypt chill doesn't turn up. So there we go. And then for our third action, and this is the thing we always want to do, of course, for our third action, we will move to south side. Which south side do we get? Because it is random. We get the Hysterical Society at south side. We don't need to draw 3 cards just at the moment, but because we moved, we get a free investigate action. So that's a 3 versus a 6. A 3 versus a 6. Sorry, not a 3 versus a 6. What am I saying? A 3 versus a 5. I've got the magnifying glass in my head for some reason. So 3 versus a 5, a -2 or better. Let's use hyper awareness here. Why not? Let's throw in an asset. Yes, and make that a 3 versus a 6. Chaos Bag gives us a +1. We didn't need to do that, and we get the clue on south side, which I didn't put on there. I forgot to, but let's move the clue over. And, of course, get a resource. Great. Fantastic. So a pretty good second round. Things are going so far smoothly. So we started at Rivertown. We used our 2 clues, and we brought out Peter Warren. We then brought out hyper awareness because we don't want to crypt chill Milan Christopher. And then for our third action, we moved and we got a free investigate at Southside, and we were successful at that. And so we got another clue and a resource. So next time we can go over to St Mary's Hospital, grab the clue there, and then we can move up and we can parley with Peter Warren. All fantastically fast. And we can probably move up, get a free investigate action at Miskatonic Uni, and use working a hunch and get all the 2. We can do it's just blindingly fast, which is just awesome. All right, so that's the end of turn 2. Pretty good so far. We move into the enema phase or the enemy phase. Of course, there are no enemies that are doing anything. Peter's just canoodling around in his lab. And then we move into the upkeep phase, and I've got a plan. This could come in handy because if we get I've got a plan and we get mind over matter, then we possibly, and even Leader Chandler, we could possibly take on Wolfman Drew. But at the very least, it would allow us to kill off an Acolyte. So if an Acolyte pops up with a Doom, which can be a problem because it just increases the Doom, we can use that under those circumstances. Okay, let's move into the next Mythos phase. 2 Doom are down, 4 Doom to go. Let's see what the lovely encounter deck has for us. And the lovely encounter deck, speak of the devil. We get a Acolyte. Now we have a choice here. Whether we kill the Acolyte. See, I'm just thinking, we've got 1 clue on us. Let me think about this. So if we put the Acolyte here at St Mary's Hospital, we would move and we would get a free investigate, which doesn't provoke an attack of opportunity. So we'd potentially have 2 clues on us, but actually we only need 1 anyway for the damage. And it would be a 5 intellect versus a 3, which we could boost up. So I think that's the thing to do because, we don't want to be pushing the agenda harder than we have to. So and I think the idea of taking on Wolfman Drew is probably unrealistic, to be honest. I really do. So, because we'd have to have so many things in place for it to work anyway. So I think we're better off going ahead and putting the Acolyte there with a Doom on the Acolyte. And we'll deal with him. Okay. All right, so that's the end of the Mythos phase. So let's move into the good old investigation phase. 3 actions onto Ursula. Okay, so Yes. So what do we do first? So I think we move. So we move to We move to St Mary's Hospital. Flip that over. So there's one clue on here. So we get a free investigate action, which doesn't provoke an attack of opportunity, as we know. So we get to investigate here. So it's a 2 and we are a 5. We'll just go ahead and do that. 2 versus a 5. Chaos Bag gives us... Ooh, that's a -3. 2 versus 5. We do it. Only just. If you fail. Okay. So we get the clue. We get the clue. We get a resource. That's great. Okay, and of course that means that the Acolyte is now engaged with us. We'll put that into the threat area. Yeah, so that was our first action, yes? So we just moved and investigated. Okay, so now we need to deal with this Acolyte. So let's spend 3 and use Mind Over... I've got a plan, not Mind Over Matter. So that means... Sorry, I'm laughing because I tried to use the Alt key to blow up the I've got a plan, which you use in Tabletop Simulator to make it larger, which you don't have to do in Octagon. Okay, so we can fight here. So we're using our intelligence. So we're a fight. We'll do plenty of damage. So it's a 5 versus a 3. Well, let's add in another resource. So that gives us a 6. A 6 versus a 3. So that's a -3 or better. A -3 or better. Let's see what the Chaos Bag has. It gives us a 0. So that is a success. And we do 2 points of damage to the Acolyte because it's based on the number of clues we have. Oh, we actually do 3 points of damage, actually. Anyway, he's dead. So the Acolyte is dead. He's gone. That was our second action. Great. So we've got one more action. Now, we don't want to move here yet because we can't investigate. We've already done our free investigate and we need an action to parley with Peter Warren. So we're kind of what are we going to do instead? We can't get a clue. We don't have any money. Oh, we're sort of left a bit bereft, really. Possibly maybe getting a resource would be a good idea. So why don't we do that? Why don't we get a resource? So we'll get a resource. We could draw a card, but I don't want to draw into a weakness. So let's draw a resource. Okay. So that was reasonably okay. I was hoping we'd get Peter Warren, but unfortunately the Acolyte got in the way. I'm glad we got rid of him though, because you know, we don't want any more doom than we have to. So we moved to St Mary's Hospital, where we got a free investigate action and we got the clue there. We then used Mind Over Matter to kill the Acolyte and got rid of his doom, and then we just took a resource. So that's our actions. Okay, so next time we'll get rid of Peter Warren, and then we can get the clues off Miskatonic University because we can move, get a free investigate, probably use Working a Hunch to get the second one, which is also a fast action. Then we can get Peter Warren and we can get the next cultist onto the table. Fantastic. Okay, so we move into the enemy phase. There is no enemies doing anything of any interest. So we move into the upkeep phase and we get the Tooth of Etzley. It's going to actually be quite a nice card, for example, if we do have to deal with things like Crypt Chill and other things, because it gives us extra abilities on treachery cards. Or we can just use the willpower pip. So, okay. All right, so let's move into the Mythos phase. 3 doom are down. We are halfway through the first agenda. Let's see what lovely delights the encounter deck has for us. And of course, it has Hunting Shadow. You must either spend a clue or take 2 damage. Well, I think we'll take the 2 damage right now because, you know, if we spend a clue, we lose a clue, don't we? Which just will slow us down. We can't do that too many times, but I think just at the moment we want to do that. Hopefully we don't get too many hunting shadows because that can be quite nasty. Okay. All right, we've taken a bit of a hit, some damage from a hunting shadow. So let's go into... And we are at St Mary's Hospital, so we could actually heal the damage back. Is that worth it? Let me think about that. Hold on, let's just move into our... So we move into our investigation phase, 3 actions onto Ursula. Now, what we can do is, I'm just thinking about the efficiency of our actions, is we can move to Miskatonic University as a first action and get a free investigate. So assuming that we succeed, we'll get a clue. We can then use working a hunch to get our second clue for free. That's a fast play. So that will still be 1 action. Then we get that victory point. Then we can spend a second action and we can parley with Peter Warren, and then he's out of the picture. So it's a question is, do we heal up the damage now? I think we should, because I think otherwise, if we get another hunter or whatever, we're going to lose Milan Christopher. So I'm feeling that it's probably a prudent thing to do. Even though it's slowing us down, I just think it's a great idea. So first action, I am going to heal 3 damage. Well, in this case, 2 damage. Okay. Pity Milan Christopher's not a bit more robust, but anyway. So that was our first action. Our second action, we will move up to Miskatonic University. 2 clues. Peter Warren is now in our threat area. He's not the most threatening person, is he? But anyway. So now we get a free investigate action for moving. So we are a 5. And Miskatonic using it's a 5 versus a 4. I'm going to use the Chthonian Stone. That's a 6 versus a 4. I might use a resource. So that's a 7 versus a 4. So a -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us an Elder Sign. Wow. So that is a success. But we don't want to move, so it's kind of unfortunate because usually you can use it to move. We've already used our special ability and we don't want to move to a connecting location. So there we go, and we get a resource from that as well. So that was all very successful. I'm then going to spend 2 to play Working a Hunch, which is also fast. So there's no provoking attacks of opportunity, and we get the other clue. So we just automatically get it and another resource, which means that there's a victory point on Miskatonic University. Let's just put a little damage on there to show we've got it. Crag goes wild. And then that's our second action. And then for our third action, we will spend 2 clues, parley with Peter Warren, add him to the victory display up here. And the crowd goes wild as our first victory display, second victory display. So we've already, second victory goes down. So we've got 2 victory points in the space of 1 turn. And that was our third action. Wow. Fantastic. So that was another successful round for Ursula. Things are going really well, and we're really, really ahead of the curve compared to previous investigators. So what did we do? We healed ourselves up of some damage at St Mary's Hospital, so we can't do that again. That's only once per game. And what we did was move to Miskatonic University and got our free investigate action, which succeeded. We then used Working a Hunch, just realised we shouldn't have that extra resource, because I think with Working a Hunch you discover a clue, but you haven't successfully investigated. So we shouldn't have gained there. Okay, so yes, we move into the enemy phase. We move into the enemy phase, and no enemies to speak of, so we move into the upkeep phase, and we get another Tooth of Etzley, Is this the world trying to tell us we should put down a Tooth of Etzli, perhaps? I'm not sure. But that's what we get in the upkeep phase. So let's move into the Mythos phase. There are now 4 Doom down. So we are coming to the end of the first agenda. So it would be good to get another... It would be great to get another cultist out and get them done. But anyway, we'll see how we go. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And we get Wings of Darkness. Test 4. If you fail, take a damage and a horror, disengage, and go to the central location. Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. Man, that's why we should have had the Tooth of Etzli out. Because, we're a 4, so we've got good evasion, and it's a 4. Does it matter? Well, I guess it's the horror and the damage, I suppose. Are we going to use the backpack? I don't think so. So why don't we throw in the backpack? Make that a 5 versus a 4. And why don't we let's spend 1. Make that a 6 versus a 4. A -2 or better. Let's see what the Chaos Bag says. Chaos Bag is -1, so we succeed, so we don't get dragged away. We manage to duck and evade the Nightguant. Because going back to the central location, because it's not like... I mean, I suppose if we get Herman Collins, we would have been in a better position, in theory. But anyway. Okay, so that's the end of the Mythos phase. So let's move into turn 5. And the investigation phase, 3 actions onto Ursula. Blindingly fast here. So what are we going to do? Well, the first action is obvious. We are going to spend the 2 clues. And we're going to bring out the next cultist. Here we go. Let's shuffle them up. There you go. And we will draw. And we get Ruth Turner. Wow, it's St Mary's Hospital. That's really handy, isn't it? She's just there. Slight problem, though. It's we've got no money. So, yeah, because she's got a 5. We've got a evader with 5. Now, we do have hyper-awareness, which is turning out to be very handy. But the problem is we don't have many ways of evading her because we don't have any money. So... What are we going to do? So we've got a couple of choices here. We could just take 2 resources, which feels like a real inefficient... and then we would have 3 resources for next time. The other alternative is to move to north side, get a free investigate action, then get another investigate action. We'll get 2 clues from Elaine Christopher, so we'll end up in the same place, but the difference will be that we'll have more clues. I think that's a much better thing to do. I'm sure you agree. So let's, for our second action, actually move... I mean, we could also just 4 versus... No. So we will move to north side for our second action. So we'll flip this over. There are 2 clues on here. Now, because we moved, we get a free investigate action. So it's a 3 versus a 5. We're just going to go straight up. 3 versus a 5. Chaos Bag gives us... Oh, dear. Never mind. Happens. Okay, so our final action, we will investigate again. So that's another 3 versus a 5. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, which is 0. So we get that one and we get a resource. So it didn't go quite to plan, but that's okay. So that was a bit of a non-turn, I suppose you might say. And the other thing we've got to think about, I've just realised, is that the Masked Hunter will be bearing down upon us relatively shortly, so we've got to think about where we want to be to evade him and move away as well. So we've got a couple of evasion tests to do. So I think what we do is we get this clue here. That would be the first thing to do, which would give us another resource. And then yeah, maybe we just get more resource, get more clues, because then we can do all kinds of things then. But then if we use our resources, that's actually a bad idea because we need our resources to make sure we pass evasions because we've got no cards for that. So I think the best thing to do is to get this clue. And by then we'll have 3, and then we could probably, yeah, I'll think about it. Let's see. It depends on what we get from the encounter deck as well. But basically, that was an okay round. I suppose we, brought out Ruth Turner. We then moved to North Side. We failed to investigate, but we then succeeded, and we got ourselves a resource. Okay, so that's the end of our investigation phase. Let's move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of. So move into upkeep. We get the old Book of Lore. Got lots of things here. The problem is in the Midnight Mass, it's all very well having all of these things, but it's just, do you take the time to put them out or not? And at the moment, it just feels like it's just wasting time when we're being kind of delayed in various ways anyway. Okay, let's move into the Mythos phase. So 5 Doom. So the Mars Hunter will be upon us next time, so we need to be aware of that because we're not going to fight him, obviously. We're going to evade him, so we need to be ready to do that. Okay, let's see what the encounter deck has for us, and it's got an Obscuring Fog. Oh no. +2 Shroud. You're kidding me. Bloody hell. That's kind of annoying, isn't it? That is really annoying. Okay. Oh boy. Alright. Let's move into the investigation phase. 3 actions. So we've got a couple of choices here now. We the Mars Hunter isn't hard to evade because he's only got a virility of 2. he only has a vitality of 2. So I don't know what his virility's like. Don't know. Anyway, we could either mess around waiting, or we could just get rid of Ruth Turner and hope that we'd successfully evade her, which we should do. It seems like a little bit of a risk, but to be honest, I don't want to. Like, this is now a Shroud of 5, and we are a 5, so we could try and get this clue right now, but quite frankly, I'd rather get rid of what we've got and prepare for the... So I think we'd take two goes to move. We can obviously investigate. Ruth Turner's in our threat area. We are here at the hospital. And then for our third action, let's go ahead and try to evade her. So she is a 5 and we are a 4. But we've got hyper awareness, so we can spend 2. So that gives us a 6, and I can throw in Jake Williams and make that a 7. So that's a 7 versus a 5. So a -2 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -1. Yes, we did it! And Ruth Turner is in the victory display, and the crowd goes wild. That was great. Okay, so there we go. So that was a very successful round. Whew, we took a risk. We went down, spent 2 turns moving back to St Mary's Hospital. We then threw in all our resources and Jake and everything to give ourselves an opportunity to evade Ruth Turner, which we succeeded in doing. And she is now in the victory display. Fantastic. So we're now ready for the Ghoul Priest, not the Ghoul Priest, please. We're now ready for the Mars Hunter. So we can evade him. He's in a good place to be evaded because then we can get away from him back up to North Side. And then maybe the next time we can look to get that clue. We can throw a few resources at it, maybe, something like that. So I think we're in a good place. We've got 3 victory points, so already we're doing really, really well. So everything is going pretty good for good old Ursula. All right, so let's move into the enemy phase. No enemies to speak of. Move into upkeep. Just famous last words. Oh my god, chronophobia. Okay, that's the worst time to get chronophobia. I mean, Midnight Mass is chronophobia on steroids, really, isn't it? So, oh my goodness. Okay, so we're going to have to deal with this somehow, somewhere, but not quite yet. So, let's move into the Mythos phase. There we go. There are the 6. Look, it puts a little red thing around it. So there are the 6 Doom. So we will remove the Doom from here. Doom goes off there. We flip this. There we go. There's the Mouse Hunter. Oh, geez, he looks clothing. It's so cool. There we go. So there we go. We are Mouse Hunter here in our threat area. Oh, I don't know where where's the other... where is it? Ah, here it is. Agenda 2A. I don't know why it's not underneath, but that's all right. We'll put out Agenda 2A. Time is running short. We've got 8 more turns. So there we go. Yeah, so all we need to do now is see what we draw from the good old encounter set. And we draw... Oops, hello? We draw... False lead. If you have no clues, I do. False lead gains surge. Okay, if you have 1 or more clues, test 4. If you fail, for each point you fail by, place 1 of your clues on your location. Okay. So we're a 5. We're testing 4. We could use hyper awareness for this. Do we use hyper awareness? Because I don't really want to lose the clue, but we could also use because we're a 2 versus a 4. That's pretty right. Whereas at the moment we're a 5 versus a 4, so I am going to use this resource here. So that gives us +1. So that's a 4, 5, 6. A 6 versus a 4, -2 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -2. I'm so glad we did that. So that's fine. We don't need to get rid of our clue. Woo! Okay. There we go. That's the end of the Mythos phase. So we move into Investigation phase. 3 actions onto Ursula. It's time to take on the Masked Hunter. Yes. So first action is an evasion. Now we are a 4. Masked Hunter is 2, so it's a -2 or better. Let's see what the Chaos Bag has, and the Chaos Bag draws another -2. We'll just look down here. It is another -2, so we succeed. So the Masked Hunter is evaded. Where's she gone? So that's our first action. Now we've got 2 choices here. We could throw in Chronophobia. But I think rather than that, I'll take a horror, but I'll move right up to north side. Get away from the Masked Hunter. And then next time, because what will happen then is he'll move up to Miskatonic University, and then all we have to do really is we'll just need to go to the right, and he'll just follow us to the right. And I think that's what we do. Yeah. We just got to be careful we don't move too fast to the right, because otherwise Masked Hunter will come the other way. But we don't want to be drawing 2 clues in downtown, because that might be Wolfman Drew, but we can probably evade him anyway. Anyway, I've got to think about all that, but at the moment we're at north side. So we do take a horror. Is that the best thing to do, or we better... See, the other danger is we stay here, the Masked Hunter readies, and then we end up with a Hunting Nightguant, and then we've got 2 enemies on us, so we don't want to do that. We don't want to have to do 2 evasions, so it's better that we take the horror. Yeah, so 1 direct horror. You can't put the horror on Milan Christopher. Okay, that's all right. That's fine. Okay, so that's the end of our turn. So really, it was always expected we'd have to do this. We evaded the Masked Hunter, then we moved up to north side, and then we took a horror for our Chronophobia, which we'll try and get rid of next time. No enemies to speak of, because the Masked Hunter is evaded and is exhausted. So in the upkeep, he's back up, he's back here, and we get a knife. That's not going to help us very much, but anyway. And that's the end of our upkeep phase. So we move into the Mythos phase. The first Mythos phase, first Doom goes down of Agenda 2. So it is time to see what the encounter deck has for us this time. And the encounter deck has another Wings of Darkness. Can't get away from these Wings of Darkness, can we? Wings of Dark Nigh, are they? I don't know. Test 4. If you fail, take a damage and a horror. It's not the end of the world. So we are a 4 as well. The only thing we can do is make ourselves a 5 versus a 4 with a resource. But I was hoping to use that to do the investigating here. So if we go back to Rivertown, it's kind of a bit of a problem because, I mean, I suppose we can always then just go into the graveyard. The problem with that is, we should be okay actually. So you know what? It's actually not the end of the world because from there, I mean, if we get Herman Collins, we're fine. So I'm actually thinking, let's just fail it. Because getting this clue is going to be a pain anyway. So, yeah. Let's just go ahead. 4 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us a 0. Oh, I don't believe it. Yeah, so we passed it anyway. Okay. I can't believe we psyched ourselves up for failure and we passed anyway. It's not always the way. So funny. Okay. Okay. Let's okay, let's move into the let's move from that into the investigation phase. There are 3 actions. On to Ursula. 3 actions. Let's get rid of chronophobia. So that's 2 of our actions. Yeah. And then for our 3rd action, let's investigate north side. So it's a 3. No, it's not a 3. It's a 5. It's a 5 shroud. And we are a 5, but we can make that a 6. 6 versus 5 is the best that we can do. Let's go ahead. 6 versus 5, -1 or better. Chaos back gives us -4. No chance. Okay, so we don't get it. All right. Bit of a frustrating non-round, really, but that's the way it goes. So, yeah. So what we'll do next time is the Mars Hunter will move up to Miskatonic. So we'll move to downtown and get the clues there. Maybe, I suppose we can have another go at north side. Then we can move and get another clue. But we don't want to be spending the clues at downtown because of Wolfman Drew. So, yeah. So we might need to move again. Just have to see. Okay. Ooh, things are not going quite as smoothly as they were before. But anyway, not to worry. Things are all right. Okay. So let's move into the enemy phase. So the Mars Hunter moves up to Miskatonic University. Then we move into the upkeep phase. We get the magnifying glass. Well, that's really good. That's really, really, really helpful because that will make a big difference. Okay. Yeah, let's move into the Mythos phase. So the second Doom is down. We're already running out of time. And we really need more cultists. We've really kind of, after things were going so fast in the early game, we've suddenly ground to a halt and really struggling to get this second clue. Okay, so we're in the Mythos phase. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And here he is. Our friend Cryptchill. Test 4. Well, okay. So we are 3. So let's throw in these. 1, 4, 5, 6. So that's a 6. A 6 versus a 4. 6 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, so we pass. So we are safe from the dreaded Cryptchill. All right. So we'll move into investigation phase. 3 actions. Okay. All right. Well, first, free action. I'm going to take a free action, and I'm going to bring out the magnifying glass in a hand slot. Yeah. Okay. So that doesn't count as an action. And then for our first action, we will try and investigate north side again. 5 versus a 6. 5 versus a 6. -1 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -2. That's the worst thing. Place 1 doom on the nearest cultist enemy. Oh, you are kidding me. It's a doom. I really, really want this for the victory point. I'm going to try one more time. -1 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, which is a -1. So we succeed. Whew, at last, we get a resource. Oh, goodness, how much time did that take? That fog really, really messed up with north side. But that does mean that's a victory point. So we can put a doom on that. Not a doom. We'll put a doom on it. Put a damage on it, don't we? Put a damage on that. That was our second action. Third action, we are going to move. We're going to move to downtown, which has a clue on it. 3 shroud, and we get a free, because we've moved, we get a free investigate action. So it's a 3 versus a 4, 5, 6 with the magnifying glass. So a 3 versus a 6. Chaos Bag gives us a -1. So we succeed and we get another clue and another resource. Fantastic. Wow. Okay. Now we're cooking again. So what we got to do now is the next time the Mouse Hunter will move up to north side, we will draw our next cultist. I'm hoping it's Herman Collins, although we're not really in a position to throw cards at him. But who's left? Herman Collins, Devro, and Wolfman Drew. So one of the 3. So we'll move to East Town. We'll throw in the 2 clues. Oh, we'll get another clue from East Town. We'll throw in the 2 clues. If it's Wolfman Drew, we'll throw in another 2 clues. And yeah, hopefully we can finish this off. Okay, things are moving in the right direction. So the enemy phase, yep, the Mouse Hunter moves up to here. North side. Still held on our tail. So we move into the upkeep phase. We get a flashlight. It's not really very helpful at the moment. The last thing we need. In fact, that might have been helpful in north side, but anyway. So let's move into the next Mythos phase. We're in turn 10. There are 3 doom down. Time is running indeed short. I think if we get another cultist, we'll be doing well at this rate. So let's see what the encounter deck has that could derail everything. Speaking of derailing everything, it is the Ghoul Priest, who spawns at the house. Now, this is going to make things very difficult because he will be moving to Rivertown. So oh my God, we're going to get pincered if we're not careful. Oh boy. That is... Oh no. And he's an evasion of 4, so he's much harder to evade than the Mouse Hunter, so we might have to actually move on to the Mouse Hunter. And I've just realised there's not 3 doom down on the table, it's actually 4 because of the Mouse Hunter, and we won't be killing him anytime soon. Oof, okay. That's rough. So what I've got to try and do is try and kind of get the Ghoul Priest over to be with the Masked Hunter. If I can get the 2 of them in the kind of same place, then we'll be okay. So I'm thinking we might... Yeah, that's really tough. Oh, this is really, really, really annoying things because he will move. Oh boy, because he will move to Rivertown. So if we're at East Town and he's at Rivertown, and then the Mouse Hunter, like, we will be pincered. And I suppose then we can move to the to downtown. But the problem is, if Wolfman Drew's been drawn, then we've got to evade twice, which we don't want to do. So East Town is not a great choice, to be honest, because it depends. It depends what we draw, I guess. We've got plenty of resources, so worst case, if we move to East Town and we get more resources from clues, and it is Wolfman Drew, then we just have to go and evade the Ghoul Priest. I think, we've got plenty of resources to do it, so we should be okay. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm overthinking it, really. So let's move into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Ursula. Things are getting really fraught here. So I don't want... So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to move to East Town. So let's flip that. It's a clue on here. So we get a free investigate action. It's, so that's a 2 versus a 6. A 2 versus a 6. A -4 or better. Cashback gives us a -4. So we are 6, aren't we? 4, 5, 6. 6 versus 2. So we get that clue, which means we get another resource. That's great. So that's our first action. Our second action is we'll throw in 2 clues and see who we get. Who would be the best person to get? Well, not Devro at the moment. Let's throw in the 2 clues. Maybe Herman Collins? No, not really. I don't know, actually. Okay, let's shuffle them up. And we draw Wolfman Drew, yeah. It's a good job we moved. Okay. Well, that's fine because we're not going to we're not going anywhere near him, so we've just got to kind of evade the Ghoul Priest and get out of the way. So for our third action, what's the best thing? The best thing for us to do at the moment, we could either throw in 2 more clues and get the next cultist out. I think that's a good idea. Let's do that. Let's find out. So let's throw in 2 more clues. Who do we get? Who's left? Shuffle them up. And we get Virginia Devro. Okay. All right, so she's over here with the Masked Hunter. Okay. So all we need to do with her is just get over to her and parley. That's all we need to do. And parley with her. Getting to her is going to be quite tough. I mean, he's easy to evade. But then if we move and evade, then we'll have to evade and evade. Oh no, it's just getting too hard. So getting to her is more difficult. And then Herman Collins is hard because we almost end up getting... We've only got 2... The other way would be to get Herman... Oh, no. Yeah, is to get into the graveyard, get the clues, get Herman Collins and that resign would be the other alternative. Yeah, we'll have to just see. It's getting really fraught now, isn't it? So we move into the enemy phase. The Ghoul Priest moves to Rivertown. The Masked Hunter moves to downtown. Where's he gone? Hello? It's got to be up the front. Let's put those guys there. Let's just bring to front. Is he set at the front? Yep, there we go. Okay. Oh, boy, we've been pincered. This is a thing I didn't want to happen, but it has happened. I wasn't... Yeah. Anyway. So we know then there's Herman Collins left. So, wow. Okay, I think we kind of need to move and evade the Ghoul Priest, and then we let the Mass Hunter move to East Town, then we evade the Ghoul Priest again. And then we get Virginia Devereaux. I think that's the way that we do it. It's better to go for cultists we've got, rather than we've still got to get 2 more clues, because the alternative is to get into the graveyard, free action clue, but that's 1, 2, free action, and when we get monsters, so that's not going to work. We've got to get them away from the graveyard if we're going to do that. All right. Whoops. Okay, so let's move into the upkeep phase, and we get another flashlight. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're just building up for a possible Herman Collins play at some stage. So we'll move into the Mythos phase. We're in turn 11. There are now 5 Doom down on the table. We're running out of time so fast. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. Oh, boy, things just go from worse to worse to worse. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Oh, we might need to resign. Right. Oh, no. This is the worst time for the Hunting Nightguant to come out. Oh, boy. Okay. This is the problem with Ursula in a way, is that... you know, she can't really fight, so... Yeah, okay. All right, we'll move into the investigation phase. 3 actions. First thing we need to do is we need to evade this Hunting Nightguant. I'm actually thinking the best thing to do is evade, move, evade, and then try and do it that way, because the other way is more difficult. So let's go ahead and try and evade the Nightguant. We really need to do this, and we're a 4 and it's a 1, but if it gets a -2, so I think we throw in a resource to give us a -5, so that allows us, yeah, maybe a -6. Oh, we need money for Devereaux, don't we? Let's do that. So we've made it a -5 versus a 1. Chaos Bag gives us a -2, so that's -4, 5, and we were a 5, so it's successful. Wow, we don't have to do that too many times. That was right, wasn't it? -4, 5, and we were a 4, and we added in 1 to make it a 5. Wow, hyper-awareness has really, really been helpful this time. So we evade the Nightguant, that's our first action. Our second action is I am going to move to... oh no, Wolfman Drew's there. I can't do that. No. I'll be moving here to Rivertown. Yeah. I don't want to be... Yeah, I have to. Okay, so I forgot Wolfman Drew is there. Thank God. All right, so we've got that was our second action, moving on into Rivertown. And we're going to do another evasion here. So Ghoul Priest is 4, and we are a 4. Oh my God. Let me just think about this. We are going to evade the Ghoul Priest, but if we evade the Ghoul Priest, we're going to have to evade him again. We're using up all our resources. Okay, let's make it a 6 versus a 4. A 6 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so we managed to evade the Ghoul Priest. This is diabolical. It really is diabolical. I think next time what we do is we evade the Ghoul. We're using all our resources to evade, so I think what we will do is we'll evade the Ghoul Priest again next time. We'll then get into the graveyard, get the clue and get a clue. So evade, move and get a free clue, get a second clue. They'll already, but we'll be fine, and then we can bring out Herman Collins, and that's where we'll finish. I think that's the best thing to do, because the problem with Virginia Devereaux is we're using up our resources, and so we just won't have enough resources for her, and we'll run out of time. So that's the plan. That's what we'll do. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's the end of our turn. So basically we evaded the Nightgaunt, we moved, and we evaded the Ghoul Priest. Whew, lucky. So the enemy phase, the Masked Hunter, of course, moves to East Town. Going to join his buddies. Then in the upkeep phase, they're all back. Ghoul Priest is back on us. Oh, Ursula, there you are. I'm going to bash you now. And we've got 4 cards, so that's great. Oh, God. So we got emergency cash. So we could. So I'm actually thinking we could go and get Virginia Devereaux now. But the other way is we get 2 victory points rather than 1. So that's probably preferable, I think. Okay, anyway, let's see what that's the end of the upkeep phase. So let's move into the Mythos phase. So there's 6 doom down on the table. I think we're really running out of time now. Let's see what the encounter deck has. And the encounter deck has a locked door. Do we care? No, we don't. Oh, no, it's where there's the most clues. Sorry, it's not there. Well, there's no clues anywhere, so it can go anywhere. Well, it can't go at the house, so let's put it at south side. Okay. Good job we haven't gone into the graveyard. Okay, so that's the end of that Mythos phase. So we are into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Ursula. She's been quite the... oh, hold on. Oh, no, the Nightgaunt readied. I'm thinking, why isn't the Nightgaunt on? I was like, so is it readied? Okay, so she has been quite intrepid in this last part. So we've got 3 actions. Well, the first thing we've got to do before we do anything else is evade the Ghoul Priest, and we absolutely need to evade the Ghoul Priest first time. So we're going to throw everything at this. So he's a 4, and we are a 4. We can't throw anything in, but we can spend 3, 5, 6, 7. Thank God for hyper awareness. So that's a 7 versus a 4. A -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -2. We succeed. Whew. Wow, this is high stakes stuff. Okay, so he's evaded. That was our first action. Now we've got 2 actions left. We've got 2 actions left. So we've got a choice here. We could either move to Miskatonic University and throw in emergency cash, and then next time we can go and get Virginia Devereaux. So that will work. That would work, so that's fine. The other way is we can now move into the graveyard and get a clue, and then we can get the second clue and get a victory point. And then on the final go, we can get Herman Collins. So I think then that's 2 victory points. So it's the Investigator games. We want to do the most we can. So that makes sense. So let's move into the graveyard. So that's flipped. 2 clues. Now we have to test 3 willpower. If you fail, take 2 horror. Okay, we've got no way of mitigating the willpower. So it's just a 3 on a 3. Chaos Bag gives us a -3, so we fail. So we take 2 horror, we can put a horror onto Malign Christopher, and we'll take the other horror. No big deal. Okay, so we get a free investigate action for moving. So it's a 1, and we are a 6. A 1 versus a 6, so we get a -4. That's a success, so we get the clue. And we get a resource. And that's our 3... Is that our 3 actions? We evaded. Hold on. No. Wait. We evaded the Ghoul Priest. So that was 1 action. We then moved to Rivertown. And we got our free investigate. So we get another action. We get to investigate again. 6 versus 1. Chaos Bag gives us a skull. So that's another success. And we get the second clue. We get another resource. And the crowd goes wild because that is another victory point for Ursula. Wow. That's fantastic. So I think what we're going to do is next time, the obvious thing we're going to do is we will bring out Herman Collins, throw in 4 cards and resign because, yeah, there's no way we're doing anything else. So there we go. That's the plan. All right. So we move into the... enemy phase. See Hunting Nightguant and the Mars Hunter all pile into Rivertown, and they're all after us. And they know we're in the graveyard, so it's just a matter of time. So we move into the upkeep phase. They're all ready to roll, so we will get monstered if we don't finish next time. Or we get a perception. Well, better late than never. And then we move into the Mythos phase. There is now 7 doom down. It will be flipping next go, so it's our final turn. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. The Wizard of the Order. So we'll put the Wizard of the Order here at the house. Everyone else has been spawning there. He gets a doom down on him, so doesn't matter because it will be flipping next time anyway. So there we go. All right. So we move into the investigation phase. 3 actions. We are here. We are here hemmed in the graveyard, but that's all right because our first action is to spend 2 clues and bring out the final cultist. Indeed, Herman Collins. He's the last but certainly not least. So Herman Collins comes out. That was our first action. Our second action, we'll throw in 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Herman Collins goes to the victory display. There goes the crowd. Wild, wild, wild. And for our final action, we will resign. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was fantastic. Whilst we didn't get all of the cultists, we didn't get Wolfman Drew and Virginia Devereaux. It's unfortunate that things didn't work out, that we could get Virginia Devereaux. I thought that we might, but in the end, we had a choice. We could either go for Herman Collins or Virginia Devereaux. We could have succeeded with either, but of course, getting Herman Collins meant an extra victory point for the graveyard, so that was the best thing to do. So things were going really, really well, but the Nightguant turning up and the Ghoul Priest turning up really made things very difficult for Ursula. But, you can't expect things to go perfectly. I think she did really, really well. She got 3, 4, 5 victory points. 6 victory points because 3 locations. So she managed 6 victory points, which was really fantastic by turn 13. And the bells didn't go off. So that was all brilliant. So there we go. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. Now next time we will be taking Finn Edwards through the Midnight Masks. Finn Edwards, the Forgotten Age Rogue. And I'm very much looking forward to piloting Finn through here. I hope you enjoyed this. And as always, I'm Krabby Terror 8. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.